What's up, hello guys, welcome to today's video. If you saw the name of the title of today's video, I'm going to be doing my August reading wrap-up, and as you guys can see, we have quite a lot of books this month. So to tell you guys the truth, I was in a huge reading slump for the summer. Like, I only read 7 books over the course of 3 months, and that was 3 books in May, 0 books in June, and 4 in July. So the fact that I read a total of, drum roll please, 14 books this month is a huge improvement for me. Like, literally 0 books in June, 4 in July, to 14 in August. And I started school this month and it's just crazy. So to start off the month of August, I ended up finishing the book Reckless by Lauren Roberts, which is the second book in the Powerless trilogy. And let me say, like, I really enjoyed this book. It definitely wasn't as action-packed as I thought it was gonna be, kind of like what everyone said. I do agree that it was a lot of filler, but it was also a lot of character development as well as like relationship building. Like, yeah, it was kind of a filler, but it focused more on like the people as well as the relationships versus on more of like, you know, like the main plot. Like, I still feel like there was a lot that was divulged in this book. In the middle, I'm gonna say now, I predicted what was gonna happen at the end. Like, the signs that it was giving, I was like, oh, guarantee he's going to do this. And then I got to the ending of the book and I was like, I knew it was gonna happen. It still shocked me. My jaw was still on the floor, but I kind of predicted that it was gonna happen. I definitely have mixed feelings. Me and Kit are not on good terms right now, but me and Kai Azar, I love Kai Azar. Yeah, so I think this one got a 5 from me. After this book though, I did try to like kind of tone down my rating to like give you guys more of an accurate rating, so you guys will get to see that as we go on with the video. So the next book that I read this month was Unite Me, which is one of the novellas of the Shatter Me series, and I hate to say it. I hate to say it. I gave this one a 3.5. I'm sorry, Aaron Warner. Like, genuinely, the only reason why this book got a 3.5 was for me was because the second book, the second half of the book, which I believe is called Fracture Me, which is from Adam Kent's point of view, I just wanted to like go into the world and just, like, he was insufferable. He was so annoying. Like, I don't know how I ever simped for Adam Kent, and I did make a TikTok video when I first started the Shadow Me series because I simped for Adam Kent. Just for him to be really whining and annoying, like getting a look inside of his head from his point of view was, it was torture. The first half of the book, which was Destroy Me, which is Aaron Warner's point of view, absolutely loved. I was gonna give this a 5 up until we got to the last half of the book, Adam Kent's point of view, nah. So genuinely, I give this a 3.5. I don't know what much to say about it. As you guys know, it's a novella. Like, everything that happens in these books happened between the events of Shatter Me and Unravel Me, and then Unravel Me and Ignite Me. So not much to say about the plot without you guys like spoiling much, but just know that it's solely being told from Adam Kent's point of view. Gave us a 3.5. Ooh. Okay, so the next book that I read was Powerful by Lauren Roberts, and this is also a novella for the Powerless series. However, I did give this one a 4. I'm kind of debating dropping it to 3.5, and only because I really did not like the ending. Like, I really didn't. If you guys read Powerless, you already know how this book is going to end. And even though I knew it was gonna end, I didn't cry at the end. I thought I was going to, but the way that they built up going into the ending was just kind of bad, in my opinion. Like, it happened, and then there was like 2 more chapters, one from Makoto's point of view, and then last one from Dina's point of view, and it just, like, I was like, that's it? That's all? Like, you're gonna end it like that? There's no like what happens after, what Makoto's gonna do, and then no, it just ended like that. Like, I felt like what this book was about, like the ending of it, especially because it was such a big thing in Powerless, like to me at least, that happening broke my heart. But reading about it in this book, I was kind of like, it doesn't even seem that significant. Like, it really didn't. And I know this is very vague because I don't want to spoil it, but I genuinely think that the ending could have been better, and that there definitely should have been more that happened afterwards, especially for Makoto, so we could have seen like what he decided to do after and like what happens to him. Like, I genuinely did not really like the ending. The only reason that I did originally rate it a 4 was because of Makoto. Like, I wanted to give it a 4, but I genuinely think I am dropping this to a 3.5. So I'm gonna go ahead and change it on Goodreads. This is gonna be a 3.5 for me because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I did not like that. I don't know if that's gonna cause controversy because I've like known people who have cried at the ending of this and were like, oh my god, Powerful was so good. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think it like lived up. And then also for Makoto, I thought we were gonna see him in Reckless. Like, I thought that was the point of this book, was like we get to have an introductory of him, and him and Peyton were gonna like meet, but no, I didn't read anything about him in Reckless, so I was a little, you know, lackluster. So this next book is technically a reread slash re-listen. Re-listen only because I did listen to the audiobook version of this, and it's also one of my favorite books. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. As you guys know, I originally rated this book a 5, so it's going to be a 5 again, but I listened to this audiobook for the course of months because whenever I got like my lashes done, I would usually, like, you know, your eyes are closed so I can't do anything, and I don't like to listen to music, so I would listen to the audiobook. And I decided to re-listen to Fourth Wing and then as well as like reread it, and it reignited my love for the series. Like, I absolutely love Xaden Ryerson. I love this world, I love this plot, I love just everything about this book. Like, it was so good, and because of that I ended up getting the dramatized graphic audio version of Iron Flame to listen to, which I like listen to when I'm like running and then getting my lashes done, and it's so good. Like, if you guys ever want to listen to the audiobook version, get the graphic audio because Xaden Ryerson's voice, it's so good. Third book comes out January 21st, 2025, and that's another reason why I wanted to re-listen to it, is because I want to get more prepared for the third book to come out, because Fourth Wing was the first fantasy book I read after years of not reading, and that was back in November, so happy almost year anniversary to reading you. This next book I read, you guys probably saw in my boyfriend picks out my next reads video, but it is Ledge by Stacey McEwen. I gave this book a 4. It was genuinely a really fun read, and like I said to my boyfriend, this isn't a book that I think I would have picked off of a shelf off the cover alone. Like, it didn't look too appealing to me or something that I would like, but my boyfriend actually picked out this book for me from Barnes & Nobles, and it was genuinely a good read. I do think like the writing style was something to get used to because it was in third person point of view, as well as like very, I would just want to say like a lower reading level, but there was smut in it, so I wouldn't say young adult, but it was still good. It did have some tropes that I have read before, but the overall plot, like there being glacians, and like dealing with that type of like supernatural creature I've never like read about before, so it was genuinely a good read. I think the plot was really good. This ends on a major cliffhanger, so if you are gonna read this book, just be prepared for that, because I was like, you know, it was a big cliffhanger, and I definitely do want to read the second book, and I probably will. Like I said, I gave this book a 4 because it ended up being really good. If you want more of like a soft, subtle, like enemies to lovers romance, I definitely would recommend this book. It's overall just a good read if you just want a fun, little nice fantasy read. It's also really short in terms of like other books that I've read. It is 333 pages, so if you want like a short fantasy fun read, I would definitely recommend reading this book. This next book is one of my new favorite books of all time, and it is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia Fairies. I absolutely love this book so much. You guys do not understand. Like, it's so good, and it's not smutty. It's definitely not, it's like a nice soft romance fantasy read. But I genuinely learned a lot about this. Like, I can tell you guys about a lot of different fairies and fae, like brownies. There's one word that I do not know how to pronounce. I really don't know how. But I'll just like put it right here, like about them and like how they clean houses. Like, this was such a fun read because not only did I learn a lot about fairies, Mr. Wendell Bamblebee. Like, I know his name is funny. When I told Alex about that, she was like, Wendell. Like, it's definitely funny, but he is so, oh, I am a simp for Wendell Bamblebee. Like, this book was genuinely really good. Like, the soft romance, the plot, the world building, learning about fairies, this overall like fantasy adventure is really good. Like, if you want a cutesy fun little read, 10 out of 10 recommend this book. Words cannot describe how much I loved it. Like, just the adventure, reading about like the journal entries, and the fact that this takes place in like the 1800s. I'm gonna clarify that. The early 1900s like was really fun because I love that era, and like seeing the way that they talk. Like there's one word that they use is come hither and thither, and my boyfriend likes so like joke around and be like come hither. So like hearing that in a book was really fun. I don't know what else to say. Nice fun little read. Please read it. Like if this is on your TBR, this is your sign to read this book, because I will not shut up about it and I will not stop recommending it. I don't know if I said it yet, and if I didn't, 5-star. Obvious 5-star. So this next book is gonna shock all of y'all if you know who I am. Like I said, smart reader, fantasy reader, romance reader, not a science fiction reader. And you know what I ended up reading? I ended up reading Dune. I did not finish it. But I did not DNF it. So if you guys know Dune, Dune has 3 books in one. So I stopped at book 2, which is Maldives. So I read the book 1, which is the front of this book. Clearly I'm not done, and I am going to finish it eventually. But I did read this because this is another one of the books that my boyfriend picked out for me. First off, I gave this one a 4-star. It really did capture me in the last 50 pages of the first book. So a little background info. I mean, you guys will get the full details if you watch the YouTube video I was talking about, which will probably appear right over here, which is my boyfriend picks out my next reads. But I've never watched Dune before. So I went into this book completely blind without knowing anything besides the fact that Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet were in it. It's definitely a sci-fi read. Like if you're like the type of person that really likes Star Wars, Star Trek, my dad loves both of those, so I grew up watching those movies. Definitely would recommend reading it. It's actually really good. Or you could just go watch the movie. But if you want to read a book, read it. The plot is definitely really interesting, as well as the world building. Like I could really imagine the world in my head, as well as like these fantasy characters. It did a really good job at describing them. This book was also in 3rd person, but I didn't mind it because you did get to see everyone's thoughts. Like even though it was 3rd person, it'd be like Paul blah 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 blah, Paul thought, or blah 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 blah, Lord Leto thought, or Lady Jessica thought. Like it still showed the thoughts of the characters, and that's why I enjoyed that it was 3rd person, because you got the thoughts of everybody versus just whoever the 1st person point of view was. And if you're not in it for romance, if you're not in it for smut, if you just want like a fun, whimsical, like kind of like serious adventure, definitely recommend Dune. It's very spacey and I do like it. I definitely want to continue it. I know I'm being very vague because I don't know what much to say about it because I'm not all the way finished yet. And science fiction isn't something that I typically enjoy. I don't know. I'm just going to move on because I feel like I'm just babbling and not really giving a review. But take that as you will. So the next book that I finished this month, and it's going to be a complete 180 from Dune. Haunting Adeline. And I'm just going to say right now, this book got a 5. This book got a 5. I don't know what that says about me, but this book got a 5. I have discovered that I'm a dark romance girly. This is the first dark romance book that I've ever read, and I really enjoyed it. Like Zane Meadows, I probably need help, but absolutely love Zane Meadows. He is very controversial. I would definitely agree on that. Like he's not a morally good person, but I do love morally gray men. If you just want a smutty, dark romance read, for sure I recommend Haunting Adeline. Just make sure you do read the trigger warnings because there is a lot of that in this book. The romance section, I absolutely loved. Ate up all the spicy scenes. It was so good. The plot too, like even though it is just dark romance smut, there actually is a plot. There's a mystery and thriller aspect of this book, which has to do with the female main characters, Adeline's. It has to do with her great-grandmother, not her grandmother, her great-grandmother, and you'll see more about it, but just know that like history's in a way kind of repeating itself. But it was really cool like going over and discovering like that whole mystery as we got to the end of the book. So I genuinely really enjoyed that part. Like the mystery and thriller, I was there for that. This book also does end on a cliffhanger. I will say that now. I haven't read the 2nd book yet, but I do want to. However, I heard the 2nd book is very deep, very serious, touches on very like serious stuff that you do need a trigger warning and probably will need breaks in between reading because of how intense it is, which is why I haven't touched it yet. But as for this book, personally, I didn't get triggered by anything. I don't have triggers like usually, and I didn't have to take a break from reading. Honestly, I listened to the audiobook for this too, and Zane Meadows' voice is, it was so good. because I wanted to crochet, so I would listen to it, then I would read it, then I would listen to it and read it, and honestly that was really fun. That was really good for me. But that's all I really got to say about this. Definitely would recommend I would recommend reading if you don't have any triggers, and if you do have triggers but are interested, read the trigger warning. But I really like this book. I really did. I don't know what that says about me, but just know that I thoroughly enjoyed this book, so take it as you will. This next book, sorry, this is another 180. In the 5 books that my boyfriend put out for me, they were all from different genres, is They Both Die in the End. And I'm tearing up just thinking about this book. Like, this book hurt. And it should be obvious. It's in the title. They both die at the end. But it still hurt. Like, I saw it coming, but the way that this book was written, it really made you feel connected to the characters. It really made you feel like you were living their lives with them. And I feel like that's why it hurt me a lot when, you know, obviously we got to the end, because it was like, oh my god, like, why does this have to happen to them? They were so young. Like, why couldn't they have met sooner? They deserve to be happy, and it just hurt. But the plot was super good, and I definitely liked, I want to say this is kind of fantasy, because, or no, I guess it's fiction. But in other words, like, these 2 teenage boys meet on an app called Last Friend because they get a call from Deadcast saying that they're both gonna die today. Like, today's their end day, they're gonna die. And then they meet each other. It's like a found family in a way. I don't know, it just genuinely hurt me a lot. You guys can go, like I said, watch that YouTube video. You can watch me bawl my eyes out, because this hurt. The relationship building was amazing, the plot was funny, and I liked how they wrote the book. You get a lot of, like, point of views from all the different characters in the book, and at the end it all really comes together. Like, all the characters that you meet, you think they're just random, but they're not. They actually have, like, a good purpose. And what I really like is at the end of the book, the author included a kind of diagram that shows how, like, all the characters were connected and where they met. And I thought that was really cool. If you want to get your heart broke, I definitely recommend reading this book. I believe I rated it a 4-star, because it was just that good. Like, I sobbed. Immediate 4-star. Like, it was so well written, and just a nice, like, change of perspective on life. Like, it made me look at life differently. Like, if it was my last day to live, like, what would I do? Like, you gotta start taking some risks, start getting out there, because you don't want to live your life without any regrets. Like, it was really an eye-opening, life-changing, sad read. So, if you want to evaluate life, if you want to have a good little cry, definitely recommend this book. Just have the tissues ready. Back to the 180s. So the next book is a cowboy romance. It is Powerless by Elsie Silver. I gave this book a 4 stars. Really love this book, genuinely. Like, I really loved the couple in this book, which is Sloane and Jasper. Like, it was just such a cute read. I'm not gonna lie, I did take a break like halfway through to do the 5 books that my boyfriend chose for me, because it wasn't too smutty, but I think reading this, like, because I originally started this after I read the 2nd book, which is Heartless, so I think just having, like, back-to-back of the same kind of smut, I was a little like, okay, I need a break. But after I read all those books and then came back to it, I ate it up. Like, I loved it, and it was just, like, the banter was great, the romance was great, the smut was amazing, and, like, as well as, like, the drama and the other, like, life plot factors that you get in this book was amazing. And I'm really excited for the next book, because that touches on Winter and Theo. And Winter is Summer's sister, which is from the 1st book, if you guys have read the Chestnut Spring series. And you get to see a little more of her in this book as well, which was interesting because it really gets you excited for the next book. It was such a fun cowboy read. So if you want a nice, like, smutty cowboy read, I definitely recommend the Chestnut Spring series. I don't say this book because this book is number 3, and I really want you guys to read the first 2 books first, because you're just gonna get spoiled in this book if not, because they do happen, like, kind of after each other, and as well as, like, at the same time as the other 2 books. So definitely start with Flawless and Heartless, and then you can work your way to Powerless. That way you get to meet all of the Eaton boys and get a taste of the Chestnut Springs, aka Cowboy Romance series that stole my heart. Because, what can I say, I love Elsie Silver. This book, fun fact, I'm making my boyfriend take horseback riding lessons with me because I want to be a cowgirl. This book made me want to be a cowgirl. Like, I want to ride a horse, I want to live on a farm. So you guys can be prepared for cowgirl Mika era, and you guys can thank this book for it. So this next book is actually the sequel and second book to a series I read earlier, which is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. And as you guys know, I gave the first book a 5. This book was also a 5 for me. Absolutely loved it. Like, I thought I loved the first one. I love this one more. It was nice because you do get to see previous characters that you met in the first book like come back, and I was like, oh, like the found family, and then overall just their adventures, because in this book they go to a different location, they meet new people, new fairies, new fae, a new adventure, and they build new relationships, and that's really nice. There were parts in here where I was a little like sad, and I got scared a lot of the times because I was like, oh my god, what's gonna happen, but thankfully everything worked out. Kind of like the same thing as the first book. You know, if you want a nice, fun, adventure, soft read romance, definitely recommend it, because this picks up almost immediately after where the first book ended, and it's just good. You get a new taste of adventure while still getting to learn more about like fairies, as well as some more like world building and relationships. Like I said, definitely no smut, but there was a scene in this book where I was like I was kicking my feet and giggling. I was giggling. I forget the word that I came up with, but just know I was doing that over Wendell Bumblebee. Like, if I had that said to me, I would have been like blushing on the floor. Like, it was so good. Even without the smut, like the romance in it still had me like cheesing and shit. Like, it was so good. So, like I said, I'm obviously always going to recommend the first book, and I'm going to recommend the second book. Just read the first one first. So this next book I actually read on the Kindle. I don't have the physical copy yet, so I'll just put a photo right here. It was the book Hooked, which is like a Peter Pan retelling. It is also a dark romance. I remember I made a little Instagram poll where I was like, okay guys, I really like dark romance. Let me see your dark romance Rex, and this was one of the books, and I did have Hooked on my TBR for a really long time because this is like the first book in the Never After series, so I decided to read it because it was on Kindle Unlimited. I gave it a 4 if I remember correctly. James Hook. I love villains, what can I say? I like morally gray men. Like, if this was a guy in real life, I'd be like, stay like 100 yards away from me, like don't come near me. Like, restraining order. But when they're written in a book, that's a different story. It was good. Like, it was genuinely really good. I really enjoyed this retelling of Peter Pan a lot, and I like the little connections. I'm just gonna preface this now. It is not a fantasy book. It is a dark contemporary romance. It's just in the form of like a Peter Pan retelling, if that makes sense. But it was super good. Like, there were times where I was genuinely scared, and I was kind of like, am I gonna give this book like a 3? Because there was one part where I was like, that's just messed up. Like, I was genuinely like, sir, how can you do that? And I was really questioning the female main character, if she was gonna like still end up with him after that whole thing happened, because if that was me, I'd be out of there. But overall, I genuinely enjoyed the read. Like, it was a fun dark romance. Okay, not really fun, but it was a good dark romance read, and the retelling as well as the plot twist at the end. There was one plot twist that I did not see coming. I was definitely suspicious of that character, as well as I made another theory because I texted my friend Alex about it, and I was like, I think blah 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 blah, and that's why blah 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 blah. Come to the end of the book, I called it. I was right. There was just one part of it that I didn't predict, but I predicted like the main scheme of it, and it's only because it reminded me of another book I read. I don't know if this will spoil it or not, but it was Twisted Love by Anna Huang. Like, there were some similarities, so maybe that's why I enjoyed it, because I loved Alex Volkov. But overall, if you are a dark romance girly, I definitely recommend that one. It's not as dark as Haunting Adeline, and it's not that like kind of like, yeah, dark, deep, serious, but it was still like a pretty dark romance read. So definitely be prepared. There is a trigger warning list at the beginning. However, the author does say like, I'd rather you guys be like spoiled, surprised, but if you have like serious triggers, to read the list first, because I don't want like you guys getting triggered by it. So the next 2 books that I read this month is the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I'm actually currently reading the 3rd book, which is All In. I'm 50% in. I haven't been able to read the past couple days, and it's eating at me because I read this one in about 24 hours and this one in like 4 hours back to back because it was that good. The Natural series, first of all, is a young adult series. There's no smut. It's a mystery thriller, but I really enjoyed it. Like, this is my first mystery thriller series I've ever read, and I loved it, as we can tell by the fact I'm in the middle of the 3rd book right now. The Naturals is a nice, like, not really world building because it's not fantasy, but it really like gets you going. Like, it kind of explains everything. You get the backstory. The plot twist at the end, did not see that coming. Don't even get me started on the love triangle that happened in this book, because I could not choose. I could not choose. If I had to choose between this person and this person with a gun to my head, the gun would go off. Like, I genuinely couldn't choose. But this book ended up getting a 4 from me because, like I said, the plot twist, as well as overall just the way, like, the character relationships, the found family, the plot, the settings, the way everything went, as well as the fact that you got a touch, I almost said taste, a touch and a taste of, like, FBI and criminology. This made me want to enlist in the FBI. Like, it really did. I wanted to go to crime scenes, solve murder. Like, that's what this book inspired me to do. These books were both 4 stars from me, so. Going into the 2nd book, just know that you finally get an answer to the love triangle, and I was a little disappointed. This is the first time I was a little disappointed by what the character chose. It was obvious I feel like it was really obvious who she was going to choose, but I still had hope for this other character because I just fell in love with this other character. So I'm a little heartbroken, genuinely. It happened at the end, and I was like I'm so happy for them. And I have nothing against the other character. I just really love that one character a lot. I will forever be team him. I'm not gonna say spoilers, but just know I will be team him. In this book, it's also kind of like the first where there's gonna be a mystery case, like a murder case, that is gonna like span the length of the book that you get like the answers to at the end. And the plot twist at the end, I was also like, but I think I need a degree in criminology, because as we were going through like the active case in this book, I was kind of like, no, it has to be this person, but it also has to be this person, and blah 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 blah. And like, then again, it makes sense at the end. Like, I got really confused, and I was getting frustrated with myself. I'm like, how can I not see it? Like, I didn't see it in the first book, but now that I'm used to this writing, I should see it in this book. But you get answers at the end, just know that. But it was such a fun ride. Like, I felt like I was in this book with these characters, solving these murder cases with them, going through all of these events with them. And that's what I really like about this book. Like, if a book can make me feel like I'm inside the book going through all these things with them, it's a good ass book. Like, I wish I read this in middle school, because maybe I would have went to school for criminology or forensics. Like, I genuinely feel like I could have, because this book makes it seem so fun, so interesting, makes me wish I was a natural at something. But however, alas, I'm just a booktuber. But anyways, with that concludes all 14 books I read this month. I've had to start a new video on my camera twice now, so this is probably a lengthy video. If you got all the way to the end, comment it's fall time, so I know you guys got to the end of the video. But yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed. I'm happy to be out of my reading slump. I'm happy to be very active in reading, as well as all those books I knocked off my TBR, as well as new 5-star reads that I probably never would have picked out for myself. So, famous quote, your favorite book wouldn't be your favorite book if you didn't read the next chapter. And that is true, and that is why I try to go into books open-minded and not judge it off a cover like Ledge. I ended up giving that one a 4 stars, but just off the cover alone, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. Anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I can't wait to see what books I read this current month, which is September, which you guys will see a month from now. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!